Gen Z is entering the workforce with new perspectives and expectations.
In this podcast, we're here to listen to their stories and experiences, their successes and frustrations, and help employers understand the mindset and perspectives of the up-and-coming workforce.
Employers can't dictate what their young employees find meaningful. What they can do, however, is empower them to create their own sense of purpose and authentic connections.
Our curriculum is designed to help them do exactly that. East Valley Leader Lab is committed to paving the way for more curious, engaged, and connected young professionals in the workplace.
Hi, I'm Amanda Stradling, and this is Tim Eskew. We are the East Valley Leader Lab, and this is our podcast, Mind and Body at Work. If our content resonates with you, we hope you'll click on the link in the show notes for a description of our newest offer, which is helping Gen Z thrive at work. As always, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, today we have some very special guests. Ruby and Zatare. Z is what we're going to call you today. They are both current content creators and longtime worker bees. They've navigated through the workforce holding various positions, from head chef to busser, cashier to manager. This duo has over 2 decades of experience in the job market. Now fully self-employed, Ruby uses her experience to manage social media, create her own business, and dipped her toes into the world of modeling. Not far behind, Zatare has left the food service industry and shifted into the professional dog training realm. Currently partnering with an established company, he found his start in private and shelter work. All right. So thank you both for being here today. I'm so excited to dive in.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Ruby and Z. Thanks for being here. So, we asked you to keep the introductions kind of brief, but, we're talking about new people and young people entering the workforce. And is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your background that you think might be useful context for that before we get into specific questions?
I would say that, like me with my business, I have several different avenues. It's mostly my content creation, modeling, as well as being an artist, which I mostly do resin work with that, specifically handcrafted dice. But I also do and sell some paintings and drawings as well.
Handcrafted dice. Say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so both of us are very entrenched in the Dungeons and Dragons community. So most of the dice I make are for tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. So you'll have sets that have all different sides and can help you navigate your imagination with your friends.
That's wonderful. Cool. Tell us about the events where you sell those.
So all sorts of events. My next event is actually at Salt Lake City Pride, which is one I'm really excited for. I've done different Ren fairs, Scandinavian festivals. I set up my booth all cute, and we have different games that we play at the booth, and peddle my art.
That's great.
It's a fun way to navigate and build community through not just D&D, but also the market sphere of the northern Utah region. So
great. And Z, anything that you wanted to just add about your background that might be helpful for the context?
Oh yeah, a lot of my work experience is in managerial positions, so I have a lot of experience with various hiring structures and tactics, as well as I've been in positions like that since for about 10-ish years now. So I've kind of it's been interesting to see the change from the people I was hiring 10 years ago to how hiring now is a lot different, just from going more from the hiring people older to me and then transitioning into the more older category and hiring younger folks. The just difference in focuses during interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah, your work experience, even though, we might consider you as a younger worker, your career you've been out there for a while. So you have seen some shifts.
And Z, are you
What's that?
Sorry, I was going to say, are you still doing that in the hospitality business, or are you moved completely into self-employment now?
I'm currently working. I'm not self-employed currently. I work with one of the major pet stores, and in that position, I don't do too much hiring in that aspect. But the job before this, I was a manager of a local market, and so I was working with and so I was entirely in charge of the hiring and scheduling process for that.
Great. So we'd like to know, one at a time, what's really important to you? What do you really care about? And does that play a role in, the work that you've chosen to do? How does it show up in the work that you've chosen to do?
Should I go first, or want me to take this one?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some things that are always really important to me is equality and communication are super important in every job I have. Communication is kind of peters out a little bit above equality, just because to have good equality in a workplace, you need solid communication, and it's usually easier to open doors through communication. So that translates a lot into the work and jobs I do. A lot of jobs, when I used to live in Maine, and in Maine is a very unionized state, and so a lot of the jobs I have had, I was not a union organizer, but I was the one to get things rolling to get some places to start unionizing and things like that. Just because with the communication, union in my brain means communication. It's just equal and representing communication between workforce and CEO, establishment, corporate. So that mindset I've just kind of carried through all my jobs. And even now, as someone who doesn't necessarily hold a position of power in my current job, due to the communication I have with my boss, and the communication I have with my coworkers, it's usually a really easy way to be like, oh, hey, this is a problem. Can we talk about ways to fix it? And things like that. So communication and equality have always just kind of been the paramount of my work experience. And it's definitely hard to not kind of hunker down on some jobs and balance, what's the word I'm looking for? Balance, my words fail me. Just power imbalances in the workplace.
Okay.
Yeah, those structures are there, and we're all kind of working around them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they do sit a little unequal, right? Sometimes they don't feel like there's room for everyone's voice. Communication's always an option. And I think that's an important place to take a stand. And, within the structures that the company has. And use your voice, communicate.
And a lot of times, a lot of people just don't know the words to say or how to communicate, or don't have the self-confidence to communicate, which is why I think what you guys are doing is really cool about helping Gen Z kind of find that voice and communicate in the workplace and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah.
Quick follow-up, and then we'll go to Ruby with the same question. But I liked how you equate union with representative communication. Have you found that have any of the organizations you've worked with kind of looked at it the same way, or did they look at it from, we've got the power and why do you want to unionize?
It's been really hit or miss, kind of. Like I said, in Maine, it's a very pro-union state, so it was a lot easier to form those talks, and it was almost expected that at some point union talk would appear, especially if the business started doing some iffy things. But since moving to Utah, there's definitely more of a shift of unions are way more hush hush. The union is almost a bad word here, which was a very interesting shift and change that I wasn't expecting to, because one of the first jobs I had in Utah was a small little paper company job, and there were some inconsistencies with like hours worked and hours paid. And so like I brought up education and like I brought that up to management and like talked to my fellow coworkers. And it was very much more the like, why are you bringing this up? Why are you acknowledging this? From the higher ups, and not so much like the, oh no, that is something we need to work on. Thank you. And so I definitely think it's per company, kind of, because like there's some companies who are super open and want to like grow in a really healthy way, and then there's some companies that obviously are just kind of like, I'm making money, I don't really care. So it's been mixed.
Okay.
Long story short.
Yeah, no, interesting. Different environments, different companies.
Yeah.
So, Ruby, we want to give you a chance to talk about, what you care about, and does that show up in your work, and how so?
Well, so much for me and my background in hospitality as well as food service. I am very experience oriented, not only for customers, clients, but also for myself, and striving to, like, we are all cogs in a machine, typically in a company, but it is work towards a similar goal, but realizing everyone is an individual and we're there to bring everyone up. And it's not always having the same goal, but it is, and creating those magical experiences for people, whether through food or art or really anything, because it can apply to basically any sort of business, because we are all human and crave that connection and a certain extent of whimsy in our life. That is part of being human so much for me.
That's
Very cool.
fantastic. Can you just tell us a little bit about something that you've created that you felt really passionate about and that has been really well received in any of your various fields that you've worked in?
I think one of my personal favorites was working at a restaurant up in northern Utah. I was put in charge of our seasonal, like, rotating desserts. And I took inspiration from specifically the mountains of Utah to create. Yeah, I'm like, I've showed you pictures of this dessert, but it was a dark chocolate matcha cake in the shape of the mountain. And then it was topped with the hand-pulled vanilla cotton candy.
Oh, wow. For all the
Which
snow.
was the clouds that
Clouds.
swirl around the mountains here. And getting the trust from my executive chef at the time to be in charge of that, and the creative freedom to really bring this idea into the restaurant, and seeing our patrons really appreciate that and, get to experience my creativity in that way, and also part of their home as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
It reminds me, it's one of the things that we've heard a few times from, I call you young people, having entered the workforce in the last, 5-10 years. There's a desire to express yourselves and, not be bound by, this is the way we do things here all the time. So that's a great example of it. And it's nice to hear that when you did that, it was appreciated in that case, and really cool.
Yeah.
I think bringing your creativity into the workplace also helps you bring a sense of care, and it helps you engage more with the goals of the company, even if, like you said, the goals aren't always like perfectly aligned. But if you get to bring your sense of passion, your creativity, what you care about into the workplace, there is some more synergy there, and it is a great way to engage more. Yeah, shared goals. I think that's beautiful. So let's just kind of talk about like 20-somethings and the workplace. What do you hear from some of your like friends and peers about work life that kind of resonates with you?
Oh, first last thing.
Alrighty. It's been really interesting, like me moving more into self-employment, because I am currently fully self-employed. A lot of our peers, their employment, while they do want it to be fulfilling, it tends to be more of a means to an end to pursue creative dreams and the things they are passionate about. Like, yes, I love that I enjoy my job, but it allows me to do the things I want. And that is one of the reasons I do enjoy my job.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're in a little bit of a I don't want to say privileged position, but compared to some of your friends to be self-employed and more fully pursuing your passions, do you feel unique in that regard?
In some ways, yes. Because there is a certain amount of privilege, but also there's a lot of further insecurity in my life. I don't have a company backing me. If I'm not doing the work, I'm not making money. Whereas you can sometimes show up to a shift and kind of just wing it, be there, but not really there. And you're still getting paid for your work. So that can add on a lot of stress, but also it gives me so much more freedom to do the things I want as well.
Yeah. And that's something like we kind of talk about sometimes because as a couple that is one person's fully self-employed and then I have more of like a traditional job. It's kind of the dynamic of like, even though I do have a structured pay schedule every week, like even that pay schedule for me because of my job as a dog trainer and like commission and things like that also fluctuates a little bit. And so like she has the freedom of being like, if she wakes up and is having like an awful day, she can be like, not today, which you hardly ever do because you usually push through it. But like then there is the opposite of like, if I'm having a really bad day, like I can't wake up and be like, I just can't go. I just won't go to work today.
If you're scheduled.
Yeah. Like scheduled. And like with the job I have currently as a dog trainer, like it's not just I schedule and they get someone to fill my shift. It's I call out and then every class I have that day and every person in that class, we either just have to skip that day or I have to find like a substitute essentially. So like there are those, I feel like there's power and insecurities in both a traditional job and being self-employed, because self-employed does have that extra weight of if I'm not making money, it is on me.
But I am able to work around like my bad health days. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I can do this today where I may not be able to go out and do a market, but I can sit home, I can do my paintings, I can work on my social media and schedule posts. Well, I can still focus on my body and taking care of myself.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so you don't mind. So you were saying before, there are those days where, you just don't feel like it. And if you've got a job, you can just kind of go to work and be there. And I'm hearing you say when you're self-employed, you have some of those days too, where you don't feel like doing certain parts of your job, taking on certain responsibilities. You got a little more freedom to change it up and do something completely different that day that, it maybe is part of what you're trying to accomplish, but it's the part you feel like doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always going to be things that need done regardless. And there will be time frames on, but it does allow for a lot of that extra flexibility and freedom to take care of myself and the people I care about as well. I'm able to bring my laptop and visit family or friends and still get work done.
Which kind of circling back to the original question of like our peers and how they feel. Like I feel like that is a common ideology in a lot of our peers, is like if a job is not just a means to an end, it's I'm working this until I can establish my own thing. And
like it is a goal for most of your friends.
Yeah. for that extra level of freedom and just not self-worth, but like almost self-respect a little bit of like, I'm working this, it's not my favorite thing in the world. I do enjoy it some days, but it really is just a means until I can get and do what I actually want to do and make money off of that and support myself through that instead. That's definitely more of the mindset I also got from a lot of the younger folks I was hiring that at the time, I guess, were like 18, 19, and now we're like 24 or something like that. But it was much more of a shift from, oh no, I'm working to support my family and just like, this is what I do. I get a job, to I'm working so I can do something better by the time I find it appropriate, essentially. Like, it was much more, there wasn't so much, it was kind of a shift from like dedication to the company to dedication to themselves, and really having a hard line between work and life balance. Especially because there's a lot of companies who like don't really have that work-life balance there, and so you have to be super rigid with it.
Mm-hmm. And if you're not standing up for yourself, if you're not putting those boundaries into place with your work, especially very early on, I've found, and a lot of our friends as well, our peers have found, they'll push, like, unless those lines are set early on and are held fast, it's always pushed for a little bit more until you feel like it is your entire life.
Yeah. Which is just like, even in interviews, like because there's always a classic interview question. It's like, okay, what's your availability? And when I first was in the managerial positions and hiring, people would just be like, oh, whatever, anytime, whenever you guys need me. And then the slow transition of just like, no, I cannot work this time, or this time. And if that's a problem, I'll go somewhere else. Which I have way more respect for the later one. Because that is like, and I feel like that's just a good sign in an employee too, being like, cool, you can advocate for yourself, you can communicate your needs well, and you know what you can and cannot do. And that is a beautiful thing as a manager hiring, because you can be like, okay, cool, I can rely on you at these times, and that's amazing. But and then half the time you reach out to the people or try to schedule the people who are available all the time, and it's like, oh no, I can't actually work that day. It's like, okay, but you said you could though, kind of deal. So I think along with the transition of like work going from like a lifestyle to a tool in life, it's also kind of the shift from like I put the company and work for the company, and I care about the company and have like loyalty to the company, and shifting that to I have loyalty to myself and the company will do what it wants, kind of deal.
Yeah, you're bringing up things that we often talk about and work on in our leadership classes. So
Definitely.
The value of being able to set boundaries and how we need to be in touch with our body to do that effectively. I won't go into detail on that now. But also, we work on helping people say no, and helping managers and organizations understand that only when you can get a nice firm commitment, no, I'm not going to do that, can you trust when people say yes, right? That's a firm commitment. So really good signs of maturity and leadership you're talking about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And in a way, we say often that no is a commitment. It's a commitment not to do that at that time. Yeah. So can you come in for this shift? No, I commit to myself right then. That's so I think no is a very important part of work vocabulary, and employers need to receive it as an answer. Absolutely,
yeah.
So just to kind of to cap off this topic, so we've been talking about the extent to which you're committed to the job or committed to yourself, and the combination of that and how that plays different ways depending on how you're employed. If you think about your ultimate goal, so step back and think, what would be perfection 10, 15 years from now? Is it working hard with work-life balance? Is it having a job where you're rolling in money and you don't have to worry about it? What do you think about what do you aspire to long-term from a working perspective?
for me, it is still continuing in that self-employment. I would definitely like to change how precisely I am self-employed, but it is still the working for myself, being in control of my hours, my time, ideally bringing in more money than we are now. But
yeah, I think for both of us, the thing we've talked about is like, while obviously money is important and like is critical to survival, it's definitely not like our end goal isn't like a lavish life of luxury or anything. It's more enough money to live comfortably and do the things we want while still pursuing our passions and goals and things like that. I feel like the pursuit of passions and dreams outweighs financial security a little bit, especially
Interesting.
especially with I know personally myself, like financial security has never really been like achieved or a goal through like because of either student loans or just like job market stuff, and with a lot of younger folks just kind of don't believe that retirement is, or at least a lot of the younger folks that I talk to, and my friends, like none of us really believe we will get to retire. So we just kind of expect to work forever for the most part. So it's just finding a way to work and get enough financial stability to still pursue passions and dreams for me.
And do you believe that because of what you've seen, other generations of your family go through, or is it something unique going on now?
Both.
Both.
Definitely both.
Like, I think originally it was like, a lot of the people I'm working with are past the retirement age and they're still here, so this doesn't look good for me. And then with everything else going on, with like things getting cut and
Housing market being
crazy,
student loans being what they are.
Yeah, like it just doesn't seem feasible, kind of. Unless things drastically change in some way, it doesn't really seem feasible for at least our generation, or like the generations directly below us kind of have the same feeling. And it just like takes time to change those kind of structures.
It's interesting that like the long-term goal for a lot of our generation that does seem completely unachievable is even owning a home.
Yeah.
And like that is part of the long-term goal, is to own a home, to own land.
Yeah. It's like the transition of there's video compilations and things of people being asked like, what's your dream home? And it'll be like, oh, a giant mansion on an island with like boats. And now it's like, what's your dream home? Like a small house with a homestead.
Like 3 bedrooms, a bathroom maybe.
Yeah, it's like maybe a master
indoor.
bed? I don't know. Indoor, yeah. Like it's
running water.
Just even like the shift of what like
You're
the
good.
shift of the like dream home ideology has shifted a lot, just because of a lot of people's just lack of trust of any sort of financial stability in general, but then like financial exuberance. I don't think anyone I know and talk to on a regular basis expects to have any sort of exuberant lifestyle at any point. And a lot of our friends are very like, I feel like that's why there's also kind of been a rise in like crafting and homesteading and more like, what are they calling them? Depression era hobbies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
or the like grandma hobbies.
Like the grandma hobbies, like the making things yourselves, like learning old trades again. There's been such a huge uptick in that, and like with our personal friend group and just like online, that I feel like that is probably a fairly good sign of like, oh, people weren't really talking about leather working and homesteading as a viable retirement plan.
And the boom of sourdough, like there's such a desire. I know there's such a desire to be self-sufficient.
That's a big trend where you guys
It's
are.
coming back as well.
It's interesting to me, from a historical perspective, because if you think, before the times when people got jobs and worked in corporations, they did those crafts, and everybody did a lot of the things themselves, right? They were all, everybody was a do-it-yourselfer, and maybe you specialized in something so you could trade. So it's, and a lot of people look back and say, those were pretty good times before everything sped up and people were just doing a job and punching in the clock. So, it's interesting. You can look at that from different perspectives. Maybe we're going back to a happier time. I don't know.
Right.
Which is something I've
or maybe
found
not.
in the market sphere. Like a lot of vendors at these markets, these festivals I'm going to, they do trade amongst themselves. Like the amount of collaborations and trades I've done, from anything for a bunch of vegetables to a hand crocheted stuffed animal. Like in those spheres, that still exists and is actively happening.
Yeah, definitely a shift going on. And I think it is because of some of the unique pressures that the younger generation is facing. It's kind of fascinating to see the changes. And I love the creative responses that are happening.
Yeah.
Even if I have eaten way too much sourdough recently. But
It's good for your gut health. It's fine.
yeah. You guys have had some experience in workplace leadership already, but I just want you to think also larger in your life. I want to ask some questions about leadership. What do you think makes a good leader, and do you aspire to lead more in your life?
A leader should be able, as straightforward as it is, like a leader should be able to lead in every aspect. Like they should know the job positions below them. They should know what's going on ahead, and they should be able to actively protect and uplift their crew around them, essentially.
And so much with that, I find me as a leader, I would want to gather a crew that I trust. I know I can be like, this is your thing. I know you can do it. I know I don't have to baby you nickel and dime. I've had employers who sit watching the cameras of their establishment the entire day before, and that doesn't foster trust. Like you want to have people that you feel are competent.
Yeah, you're reminding me of.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Just real quickly, you're reminding me. I've got a niece that's 21, 22 years old in New York City, and she's just gotten her first job. She's graduated from college and is probably going to go back, but she's working in a dress shop. And, she was left alone there to be the person working the shop. And I don't remember what the details were, but she had some interaction with the customer. I think they brought something back, and my niece Lily, took care of it. And then she told the owner, her boss, about it, and he was like, "Why didn't you call me immediately when that happened?" It wasn't that she had done anything wrong. It was just like he didn't trust her to do anything, that he hadn't shown her exactly how to do it. And she was very frustrated about it. I think it's going to cause her to go back to college. Graduate school.
Yeah, well, that's a huge thing, is that especially with a lot of major corporations, like the really big ones, a lot of them just hire for bodies and not hire for talent. That's a big thing happening in my job right now. We have a lot of turnover, and they're just kind of hiring bodies and then firing them in a few weeks because, surprise, surprise, they weren't good at their job. But I feel like along with being compassionate and knowledgeable, a good leader does also have good discernment and be able to be in an interview being like, okay, you're very nice and you're probably an amazing person, but this job is not for you. Thank you for applying. kind of deal.
Yeah, alignment is so important.
Exactly.
Yeah, your goals, your true cares and passions, that's a big part of the core curriculum of the Leader Lab. And you're always looking for that alignment, you know?
If either of you had the opportunity to get a big promotion, 2 levels up, you're the big boss now, would that excite you? I mean, it doesn't necessarily apply to your current situation, but if it just showed up as an opportunity, would it excite you?
It would absolutely depend on the role itself. And if I did feel like I had that trust in the company and that company had the trust in me as well, because I have gotten those promotions before where it's like, all right, you are now our top person. And I'm trying to do my job. I'm trying to fulfill the roles. But you have those people being blah, 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 nitpicking everything. It's like, let me do my job. You hired me for a reason. I am capable. So if I knew that the company would trust me in that position to lead a team, to do my job, absolutely. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same. I really think it's a per job position. It's like at my current job, no, wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Really?
Yeah, and that's mainly because like once you enter into a higher station at this job I'm currently at, your life is essentially theirs. They will call you anytime, any moment of the day. You're on salary, so it doesn't matter how much you work. But like 2 jobs ago, yeah, absolutely. They took care of their managers. They like promoted from within. Like everyone had beautiful work-life balance, and they actually respected you. They would hand you a store and be like, "We trust you to do what you want with it and make us money. Essentially, just don't get us in trouble." Was pretty much all the guidelines, which kind of I guess goes back to like, what is a good leader? Because unless you're like promoted to the top, you'll always still have a leader above you, or self-employed. You'll always still have some sort of leader above you, and then they still have to fall into those same parameters to want to work under them still. So it depends.
Cool.
That's
Anything
great.
else about any other questions about leadership?
No, I think you guys really did a great job on that topic. And I see you guys moving into a lot of great leadership positions in your future. Even as self-employed, there can be a lot of great opportunities to inspire and lead others and, you know, hire people to do parts of the work that you do. And yeah, so I think you guys will continue to lead in all kinds of ways.
All right, I'm going to change it up a little bit.
Okay.
New topic, and we maybe have time for 1 or 2 more new questions. But you know, one of the things, so you know, we started this season with this theme about young people entering the workforce because there's a lot of articles being written, and one of the things that we saw characterized a lot was that they're saying that this new generation of young people consider themselves lonely. And I just wonder if, you know, what comes up for you when I bring that up? Is it something that's on your mind, and what does it mean to you?
I think our current generation that is coming into adulthood being lonely has less to do with their work life than other aspects of our society personally. But workplaces can exacerbate that, especially with the extreme individualism that our society has been fostering over the last few decades.
Yeah. And like, I feel like I know a lot less people who, and with the kind of mindset that we talked about before, where like, oh, job is a means to an end. A lot less people are turning to jobs for connection and friendship and to eradicate loneliness, and more like using it as a way to free up their time to foster other connections outside of their workplace. There's that whole stereotype of like the work family, which I feel like is kind of exacerbated words. The loneliness too, because now you have so many people go in, and if I know a lot of people who, if in the interview, they use the term "we're like a family here." It's an instant no. Because it's not a healthy family, it's a toxic one. So like a lot of people, or I've also heard people relate it to, oh yeah, they're like high school friends. I was friends with them because I was forced to be in a building with them for X amount of hours. And especially with like modern day technology, how a lot of people have like online friends and things like that. I feel like younger generations are finding more authentic ways to find connection and combat loneliness than just going to work and then making their whole social circle just their work friends.
Which absolutely still does happen.
Yeah, of course.
I've known plenty of friends and coworkers who that is work for them, but they have so much more anxiety around their job because if they do end up losing that job, they lose their entire support system as well. They lose their friends, they lose their work family.
So kind of what I'm hearing is that the focus is really on genuine connection, whether that's at work or hopefully work leaves enough life left that you can make other genuine connections in other ways.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
online, for example.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Ruby, can you say a little bit more about the radical individualism? Tell us what that means to you.
Yeah. So
Just get comfy.
also bringing it back to the resurgence of homesteading and being self-sufficient, for a lot of people, that is about fostering the community around it as well, because in being self-sufficient, you still need other people.
Well, it takes a village thing.
It takes a village. Whereas I feel like in our society, it has been very much you are taking care of like yourself.
If you can make enough money, then you can really do it all alone. Like, right? If your paycheck's big enough, you don't need the community as much.
Or even just like this impression of like bringing things up at work, or like emotions being a sign of weakness in like masculine folk, and stuff like that. Like, I feel like there's been a lot of, sorry, I hijacked your thought.
No, you're good.
There's been a lot of just like societal norms that have kind of just grown to be like, I am me and I'm an individual, and if that's a problem for you, we're never going to talk about anything. Kind of like the polarization of identity and the dwindling importance of actual two-way communication and conversation.
But so much of that the individualism has become out of necessity.
Yeah.
Which is because companies are not taking care of their employees. There are not those benefits. There are not those guarantees of retirement that there used to be. So it fosters no, I need to only be looking out for myself. But because of things like the housing crisis and the loneliness that our generation is feeling more and more, we are trying to find ways to make those genuine connections and build communities, even if they're small little online ones.
Yeah.
Can you tell us just a little bit about your small online communities, just to give some like illustration of this? Because I know you guys are both such active social influencers, but that you guys do have a pretty good network of people you meet with live, right?
Yeah. And so I think our biggest one is probably every other week we stream Dungeons and Dragons online, where we like tell a story collaboratively with a group of friends. And through that, people have started watching, and we've built a Discord, which is essentially just a giant forum. And now that forum, even if we're not active, has like 200-300 people who are actively communicating and sharing stories. And like there's different sections. So we have a section that's about like, oh, I had a bad day, I just need a place to spew it all. And with no expectation of anyone fixing it or any judgment. It's just like, this is the bad thing that happened, I just need to talk to someone about it. And it's fostering that we all have the base of, we love this story about silly little people running around doing adventures, and that small seed has kind of grown into this community of people who there's like small even sub communities within our major community of people who go hang out other times. And then the community of like the Utah content creators, where, I mean, just the other day, I was doing filming and you were helping us.
Yeah, I came along to be the cameraman.
And and now today we got a message from a group of Utah creators that we had never met before being like, hey, our friend said that she filmed with you the other day and had a lot of fun. Do you want to join in on our filming? And just like trying to find community and foster those small connections we do have that typically grow into bigger things.
That's fantastic. Well, we're kind of running out of time, but thank you guys so much I love your connection on equality, communication, creativity, community. You've brought out some really great aspects to, and such a creative look at what work life can be. I love the way you guys are supporting each other in your kind of different avenues of work life. I think that's fantastic. So just thank you for being such unique guests. It's been really great having you both.
And just real quickly, I want to ask, so you've both, you've been at this for a little while. You entered the workforce and you've made choices. Do you have any advice for even younger people that are newer to the workforce? What one thing that you'd share with them?
Probably protect your time, be honest with yourself and your employers about what your actual limits are, and stand by those. And just that basic kind of self-respect and understanding of oneself can really vault you into new positions and places that you may not have expected.
Yeah.
Great. Ruby, did you want to add a different one, or you like that one?
Yeah. What would you say to Ruby 10 years ago as she's working at kitchens at the very beginning?
Yeah. That one's a little rough.
You can help yourself too if that one's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. A random 19-year-old or something.
Just that your dreams and goals can and should have a priority.
Nice.
That's great.
Nice.
Thank you guys
like
so
Amanda
much.
said, yeah, thank you both. This has been really fun. And we want to thank our listeners. We know you're going to enjoy this show. And as we always say at the end, be well and keep moving.
This has been Mind and Body at Work with the East Valley Leader Lab. Please click on the link in the show notes for a description of our newest offer, Helping Gen Z Thrive at Work. This is our embodiment training to help new young workers integrate into your organization.
As always, if this content resonates with you and your cares, please like, share, and/or subscribe to our YouTube channel or wherever it is you get your podcast. Be well and keep moving.